Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome back for another episode of the Queena Show. Yes, today we have mostly positive news, right? Now, the thing is, first, right? Let's first look at the pricing. Good news is that Bitcoin is still above the 4,000 level mark, which is good. And overall, you can see the top coins are generally mostly above, still positive territory. So that's great. Let's just get right into it, right? First up, Russia's might going to trigger Bitcoin reserves. What is this? Is that according to the Russian financial economist reviewed that American sanctions could now be going to result in making some sort of change in the Bitcoin bull market. A well-known and famous Russian financial economist, Ginko, who is also a lecturer at the Russian Academy of National Academy, made a claim on his social media platform Twitter and also in an interview with one of Australian publication. A Russian economist claims that US sanctions could result in the triggering of the next Bitcoin bull market. Chris, I believe sitting here in Moscow, Russia, that the real factor of Bitcoin adoption will be when the Russian government I'm working for will start investing almost $470 billion reserves into Bitcoins. I expect there will be at least 10 billion in the first quarter of this year. Yeah, and specifically, apart from that, he expects that around 10 billion will be converted to Bitcoin before the end of February. Now, the significance of this news is that, right, it's basically a major news because it's the first time we ever heard a government, right, of this size actually wanting to move a lot of their country reserves into Bitcoin, and that will be huge if they do that. Yeah, of course they're going to do it gradually and over time. Now, this is still, of course, it's not confirmed. It is still a speculation, but the thing is, this will be a very good trigger, really, for the Bitcoin bull market, right? Now, now the thing is this: actually, U.S. sanctions is actually it's one of those weapons, right, that U.S. Government actually want to use so that other governments will be more friendly with them, or more submissive to what they demand, right? But the thing is this, now other governments or people who are being censored by the US government have an alternative now, right? And cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, is one of those viable alternatives that governments, right, who are being censored can go to. And this seems like what Russia government is actually considering. And this is really good news, right? Because it's almost like saying that, I guess the US government didn't really think that, Bitcoin can be such a threat, right, that it can threaten their reserve currency status because that, they probably didn't see it coming because now that if Russia, a big economy that really going to, if they really be the first mover to move a lot of their reserves into Bitcoin, it might just set the precedent for other big countries to follow, right? It could be China, right? It could be other major countries as well, all to diversify, yeah? So the thing is this then that, so the thing is there's really an alternative now. Alternative exists, an option exists. And, it might just be the trigger that, all the crypto supporter are looking for, yeah? Next. XRP is in the news again. Ripple CEO to critics after obtaining 200 clients, banks will use XRP. So what happened was this news was actually Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. He basically came out to answer to his critics that basically last year there were a lot of critics that says banks will not use the Ripple net, which is the network of Ripple. But now basically now they are signing up average 2 to 3 banks in a week, right? And it says that he basically claimed that 13 financial institutions have started to use Ripple blockchain through RippleNet, bringing the total number of banks in the Ripple ecosystem to 200 now. And he went on to give some names, right? So this is really he wanted to prove to the critics, right, that actions really speak louder than words, and it's really true, right, that success is the best revenge, right, to your enemy, right? So this is what it is, yeah. And so the thing is, he went on to actually say payments between countries are beset with inefficiencies now. Inefficiencies around cost, around speed, and around transparency. RippleNet is specifically geared to address these problems for our customers who range from largest conglomerates in Africa To individuals in villages in rural Nigeria, our decision to join RippleNet and utilize their payment solution, including XRP for on-demand liquidity, just makes sense, right? So again, this is one of those, yeah, it's definitely very good because we, XRP really are delivering results, with, signing up 2 to 3 banks partnership in a week is a very, commendable feat. It's really, great job, right? They should really keep it up, yeah. But on the flip side, we do have a news, right, that there are competitors coming up to actually, overtake, right, or rather compete for this space, right? Basically, so XRP has said that they wanted to replace the SWIFT network. SWIFT network is the current network that used by banks globally to actually transfer funds globally, right? But of course, that system is 50-year-old technology and it is very slow and costly, right? So that's why for you currently, if you use a bank that doesn't use XRP or RippleNet to process their cross-border funds transfers, it would normally take a few business days, and the fees are actually about few percentage points, right? Definitely. So it can be 5% or thereabout, yeah, of the fees. But for XRP, they have actually shown, right, to transfer millions of dollars, right, the transaction fee is only like, less than 1 cent. And it can be done instantly, right, like within seconds. So that is the competitive advantage of RippleNet, and that's why so many banks are signing up to their network to use them. But on this other news, it says that Pakistan Telenor subsidiary launches remittance service using AliPay's blockchain tech. So let me just quickly read it and then I'll tell you why, right? So the Pakistan-based subsidiary of global communications tech giant Telenor has launched a blockchain-powered cross-border remittance service. Per the announcement, the Pakistan-based Telenor Microfinance Bank, Value, a Malaysian fintech subsidiary of Telenor, and Telenor's EasyPaisa have jointly launched a blockchain-based international remittance service in Pakistan. The service is reportedly powered by blockchain technology developed by Ant Financial's online payment platform AliPay. And what is the size of the market? Pakistan currently receives about $1 billion in home remittances from Malaysia. So this is a huge market, and basically now there is another option, right? So the companies or financial institutions in Pakistan and Malaysia have another option now. Apart from RippleNet, they can use AliPay's network, right? Basically, it's by Alibaba, Jack Ma's company, and they are offering basically the same blockchain company, and the benefits are the same. Basically, is lower fees and very fast, transfer of funds, right? It is really a competition to RippleNet, yeah. The thing is this, so there are criticisms, right, among people who are in the know in the market that says, right, some banks are discouraged from signing on to the RippleNet network because of the online XRP community are just too aggressive, right? They're very enthusiastic. They're very, very on about banks. They're basically very on about banks signing up to the RippleNet network, that sometimes it borders on, people might take it as too much as bullying them. So some of the banks have been shown, right, that basically they don't like this kind, they're turned off by this kind of, too, I would say, over enthusiasm, from the XRP community. And it is true that they have a very very active online community, that is called XRP Army. And yeah, I mean, it has both good pros and cons, right? On the same time, it definitely, strong community is a very good thing for the company. But on the flip side, it does scare away some of the potential, people, partners for XRP RippleNet. But on the flip side, now there are competition coming in as well. I guess the space is just, SWIFT itself is like $2 trillion market size in terms of fund transfer. So it is a very attractive honeypot, right, for really anyone to come in and compete away their pie. So definitely SWIFT days will be numbered for sure, but then will XRP be the dominant to replace them, right? It is remain to be seen. The other thing though is that, right, with AliPay come into the picture, so AliPay in a bulk of their shareholders are the Chinese government, right, or Chinese government linked entities, right? So there is, of course, that my take is that there's still a threat of this centralization, factors come into play. So if in case, the governments don't like some companies or don't like some individuals, they can basically ban some people from using AliPay, right? From using this company to transfer the funds, right? And they will be stuck. So good thing though, you still have then the XRP RippleNet as a good alternative. So that's why I still see that. I'm still very positive then on XRP RippleNet, yeah. But just to show that currently that there are competition coming up, yeah. Next, Kudo mining software lets users mine according to profitability. At a time when various cryptocurrency miners have to leave the industry because of the year-long bear market, a new mining software called Kudo Miner is changing the game with highly efficient software to optimize hash rate and profitability. What makes Kudo unique is the fact that their products are designed for advanced command line users as well as novice GUI miners alike. The software can be installed on your laptop to make use of spare power while also being used by miners with large GPU rigs. Graphic power unit, yeah. Kudo Miner is the first mining software that allows users to apply per algorithm optimizations and the GPU overclocking from the same application. Usually, miners would have to use command line scripts to optimize their performance based on the crypto asset they are mining, plus something like the MSI afterburner to overclock their GPU's memory, core count, power, etc. Okay, so what are they saying basically? Now, thing is, quote, Kudo Miner continuously scans the coin value and difficulty, automatically switching your mining efforts to provide the highest profitably at any given time. And, they basically allow miners to choose between 9 cryptocurrencies with 5 different mining algorithms. So what I see that is this is very good because it's a new innovation. It definitely gives a lot of flexibility, so it can cater for people who are very technical savvy, then who can use their graphic cards to actually mine, so like dedicated computers just to mine cryptocurrencies. Or it can be for people who are really newbies, right, who use their daily computers, the one that they use for their work, their study. The free capacity on their computer can be used to mine cryptocurrencies. And basically, they are making it so that the setup is very convenient and it is, user experience. They claim that it is, basically hassle-free, right? So for anyone, even newbie, it is cool. But the downside is that their fees is going to be higher at 5%, which is definitely higher than other mining companies, right? It remains to be seen how profitable the miner will be, right? And for now that they have signed up 10,000 users, so that's what it claimed here. Yep. The Kudo's miners beta launch was made 10 weeks ago, and since then it has already garnered over 10,000 users. So its founders, Matt Hawkins and Duncan Cook, had revealed in the future that they plan on making it easier for miners to configure their machines. So already they have launched 10 weeks ago. They have now over 10,000 users. It remains to be seen, right, whether how profitable this is, and whether after paying the 5% fees, does it still make sense to do this. And of course your electricity charges and all that, right? Now the thing is the people behind them, they seem to have some track record because they have delivered before a disaster warning app for the American Red Cross and what was once one of the fastest growing UK data center and internet services companies before being sold. So that's good in a way that the company, so one of the important things is to assess whether a project is viable, is to really look at the people behind the project, the key developers and the key teams, the core teams, to see whether they have good track record or not, and seems like they do have. So that's a good sign, but it still remains to be seen whether they can really deliver profitability for the miners. But again, I think really the market will decide, because this 10,000 users, if it's good, they will go on and refer their other friends, because after all, they are now offering an affiliation commission. If you for people who like it and refer, they will get actually a 10,000 Satoshi bonus, right? So this is good as well. But meanwhile, right, of course, if it's not good, people will actually, post on Reddit and Twitter to actually review. So really now we are living in such an open world, right, that information travels so fast, right? So whether you're good or not, people will basically, judge you. So, it is important to actually do your best, right? And so that, you have to stay relevant. You have to really deliver the best. Yeah. Next, calling crypto a harsh mistress, Shapeshift announces major layoffs. Now, Shapeshift is one of those companies that basically make it very easy for you to trade your cryptocurrency. So it's crypto to crypto. This is one of those sad news, but it's inevitable. That they have to lay off 1/3 of their employees, which is about 37 employees in total. Though the CEO is very honest and very open about it, and basically he said, of course, everyone will expect the the 1 year long crypto winter to be the main factor, but then there's also that he did explain that the CEO Voorhees also explained that the company had diversified into too many products too soon, right? Including creating CoinCap, acquiring a KeepKey wallet, and launching a number of other initiatives which all consume time, money, and focus. Right, basically the core business wasn't sufficiently nurtured. I can lay this mistake at nobody's feet but my own. So this is a very honest and transparent way to actually announce to the world that they have no choice but to lay off people and put the blame on himself. But of course, there was also the regulations to be blamed. So one is external factor, the market, because they have to hold cryptocurrencies, right? And the value go down, they are susceptible to that. And of course, their own mistake, which is internal, which is then too fast growth. Everyone is basically too drawn into the 2017 bull run, and everyone thought it's going to last forever. So that's also one of the major mistakes that not only crypto companies will make. Basically, is quite common in other industries as well. And of course, there's also the regulator, because they actually impose the know your customer requirements, and so all these exchanges suddenly they have to invest a lot of money into all this infrastructure to actually put in all this identification checks as well. So all this will cost money, but basically volumes will be low because of the winter market. So Shapeshift is not the only company who have to make such a difficult decision about laying off their staff, right? There were also news already that Consensus, right, who is the developer for Ethereum, and Steemit, which is the social media paid platform, basically incentivize people to post content, right? And also there was rumor that Bitmain, the largest mining company for crypto, they also had to lay off staff, and some of them it ran into high percentage, also like 70% of their staff have to be laid off. So yes, it is a difficult market, but it's one of those cycle that when bear market comes, right, really you will see the weaker companies will have no choice but to take some of these hard decisions, and it will remain to be seen, right? Because it is during winter market that actually a lot of the good companies are actually born, because these companies they have gone through a winter, and for them to rebuild, if they have the capital to continue sustain them through this winter, they will be very strong, and they will be very careful with how they spend their resources in the future. So a lot of companies are actually born in winter, and let's see and let's hope Shapeshift will be one of them, right? Next, buy Bitcoin, French yellow vest stock bank run. Now there was already a months long protest in France, basically against their government, right? And one French YouTube account named Genius, which posts videos pertaining to the yellow vest, re-uploaded a video from Nico Moxin in which he claimed that he's trying to rally individuals to withdraw money from centralized financial institutions. Unfortunately, he didn't beckon consumers to purchase Bitcoin. So what happened was, basically he would like the people, at least those people who want to protest, right, to actually do a bank run. That means withdraw all their money from the banks, right, rather than peacefully protesting, or just protesting. So it is actually a very good call, I would think, because really then by taking out all the money from the bank, then you are really then making the banks, right, at a very vulnerable state, because because honestly they don't have enough money for everyone, right? If everyone really goes to the bank and take their money, they will really have no choice but to close down. So it can, on one side, yes, it will force the government to take some very harsh measures to actually relook at what they need. So they need to respond, right? Rather now they're not really responding. But on the other side, that the French people who do that may realize that actually a lot of them will not have a chance to take out their money, and that will lead to probably a social crisis, that maybe something like what happens in Venezuela, where prices will go crazy because a lot of people will not have money, and then they will need to use their whatever little money that they have to buy up essential goods in the supermarket, or in the malls. And that may be a problem there. But then at the end of the day, then they will have no choice but to probably turn into Bitcoin, right, as the alternative. Yeah. How do they do that? Will be then they have to sell off their valuable goods. It could be their, whatever things they have at home that can sell. They will have to sell those for Bitcoin, or they will have to get Bitcoin from other relatives or friends overseas, so that they can, tide over this tough phase. So in a way it's good, but in another way it can be bad as well. But definitely, if it does happen, it will be a good thing for the crypto and Bitcoin, because naturally that will be a one viable alternative for them. Yeah, but yeah. Next, also related to France, right? Now a lot of the shops that sell tobacco, so you're like your normal mom and pop shops, are already selling Bitcoin for cash. So what happened was that there are companies that call Kerplug that actually have pitched all this tobacco shop or your mom and pop store to actually sell Bitcoin, because they need to diversify from other sales which are not profitable, right? Because they don't make much money from other sales, so they now so it's a win-win situation, that for people in France also, they are not, they still find going to the Bitcoin ATM as or crypto ATM as somewhat of difficult thing to do, right? Because their habits die hard. So they would still prefer to actually, mom and pop shop, like they call it tabaks, will be something that they are very familiar with. And yeah, this might be a good way to actually for people. So definitely increase adoption of Bitcoin, especially in countries like France, which now that they're undergoing these protests, right? And which very likely if the bank run happen, there will definitely not enough money for the people. So then definitely then it will have to turn to an alternative, and Bitcoin will be there for them. Yeah. Next. BigTo holding company looks to raise $100 million in equity crowdfunding campaign. Now, Blockchain Exchange Alliance, the Singapore headquarter holding company of BigTo, one of South Korea's largest cryptocurrency exchange, is looking to raise at least $100 million in a Bank to the Future equity crowdfunding. So how big is the company? They have 4.3 million active users and about 1.4 billion in daily trading volume as of December 13, 2018. So yeah, now the thing is this, so they have very ambitious plans. What do? We use the process on solidifying BigTo's foothold in the crypto market, because as they're already the leader in Korea, expanding the existing cryptocurrency exchange trading business, as well as expanding into new verticals such as digital payment. They also plan to launch localized cryptocurrency exchange platforms around the world, including US, UK, Australia, Thailand, Singapore, Mexico, Peru, and Hong Kong, as well as open the world's first crypto bank, offering crypto loans, payments, credit card custodian services, and over-the-counter trading desk, and more. Now, so this is very interesting. On one side, I see this, right, as really trying to challenge a very strong incumbent like Binance, like Coinbase, right, who have been doing really well. So definitely they are looking to challenge this position. And another trend that's coming is localized exchanges. Localized exchanges is basically exchanges that will operate in a lot of markets, right, to cater for the people in that country. And this is to prepare for the regulations that's going to come, because when you are localized exchange, it's easier because each country regulations will be a bit different, right? And this localized exchange will then be easier to respond to each regulation in the country. For that, though, the cost will definitely increase, right, for these operators. But at the same time, I think that they do see, right, a long-term trend of people a more widespread adoption of cryptocurrency. That's why they are willing to actually commit the money, right? And they're raising funds to actually put into this business ventures, right? To actually, yeah, they do see the business opportunity, and that's why they're investing now early. And they're really looking into everything, right? Over-the-counter trading is definitely for the institutions. Localized exchanges will be for the retail investors. So they do see a very huge or widespread adoption and usage in the near future. So the last news for today is also a very interesting one, right? It's basically by BIS. Bank of International Settlement is really a company has the same status like the United Nations in terms of for banks, right? They basically came out with a report that says proceeding with caution, a survey on central bank digital currency. There was a lot of talks, right, starting end of last year that central banks are considering around the world. Central banks are considering issuing their own cryptocurrency, their own digital currency, which then will threaten, like the Bitcoin. And if they proceed to do so, what happens is that then they will mandate their people, citizens to use that. And then they might go ahead and ban the Bitcoin, and XRP and whatever else cryptocurrencies that people actually use, which are not issued by the governments, right? So the good news is this, right? Majority of them, as high as over 80% of the banks, right, think in the short term, which is in the next 1 to 3 years, that they are not likely to basically issue the central bank digital currency, which is basically good. And in the medium term, right, so basically in the next 6 years, 60% of them, over 60% of them, do not think that they're going to issue a central bank digital currency. So this is really good because what happens is that right now, that means that they don't see any threat basically from the cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, and XRP and other that are not, that are basically not that market driven but not issued by the government. So that this means that basically, right, the government do not see a major threat from Bitcoin, XRP, and other major cryptocurrencies. And that's great because that, it is the hope then that, and there is hope, it seems like, well, while adoptions in the mainstream world is happening among the citizens and as people age, right, the millennials are the ones who's definitely going to be more open to using digital currencies. Now, and if government are slow and basically in the next 6 years, a lot of them are not going to issue their own cryptocurrency, their own state-owned, state-issued digital currency, and that means that a lot of people by then would have, been very comfortable using Bitcoin and other major cryptocurrencies in their daily life as payments, as store of value, and that it would be great, right? It's almost like tricking the government to say, okay, this, yeah, you are not at risk, but meanwhile, let's just go on and push on the usage among the majority of the people here. And then by the time you realize it's really too late, then, it is very hard by then for the government to come out and say, I want to ban it, right? Because then there will be a huge backlash in terms of protest, right? There will be in terms of their voting as well, right? The people will basically, the support for the government then will be super, super, super low, right? And there will be a big protest for something like what happened in the France now, right? So that's good, I think, right? And if this is the case, and this is a report being issued by Bank of International Settlement, which is something like a UN, then it's definitely great news for the industry. Yeah. So we on that note, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day wherever you are, and hope to see you tomorrow. Yeah. And please consider subscribing and a like for this video. Thank you.